It's an interesting story. I was studying in Texas. I was studying documentary filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And my French teacher, I was just taking additional French classes. My French teacher, in passing, mentioned that, oh, by the way, I'm translating some memoirs from French to English. And it, interested me. I asked if I could see the memoirs, and she took me to the grandson of Antoine in Texas, because the family and Antoine ended up in Texas towards the end of his life. So his grandson still lives there. And I couldn't believe what I saw. And this happens to everyone. I explain how amazing the memoirs are to people, producers, or just my friends. And they say, oh, that's amazing. But until you see the memoirs, you don't understand how incredible the memoirs are. Because Antoine was an archivist, almost like a documentarian. He took photographs. His brother also took photographs. He recorded sounds. They even sent letters via tape cassettes between the US and Greece and Turkey. Home movies. Memoirs themselves, 10 volumes thick memoirs, all the army correspondence and memorabilia, family letters, and drawings and sketches. It's endless, and it is cataloged according to the subject matter he's focusing on in the memoirs at that moment. It's an amazing material, and as soon as I saw the material, I decided to make the documentary. But believe it or not, this was in 2006, and we were able to finish the film in 2021. I have some experience about building trust with your subject matters, so to say, in documentaries from my earlier documentaries. So I think it helped. And also, I met the family through my French teacher, who was already in very good terms with them, and she was translating these 10 volumes of French memoirs into English so that the family could read the memoirs. But I also did pre-interviews with the family in Texas. I specifically traveled all the way to Texas years later to do the pre-interviews. And we created a really nice website with those pre-interviews. So I spent quite a lot of time with them before we started making the documentary. On top of it, because the memoirs are so amazing and the archive material in it is so amazing, we did an exhibition in Istanbul at Salt Research Institute. It was a major exhibition, 3 stories high building with filled with Antoine's memoirs material. And the family was able to travel from Texas to Istanbul to see the exhibition as well. And I think they enjoyed seeing Antoine's material being exhibited and being visited with thousands of people in Istanbul. So it helped. As I mentioned before, I knew about the existence of the memoirs since 2006. I want to say roughly the memoirs are maybe 1,000 pages long, just the memoirs, and there are the photographs, sketches, etc. We transcribed and translated everything. So I read the memoirs, I don't know how many times. I listened to the sounds, and we transcribed all the sound recordings as well. And we translated from French to English, all the subtitles in sketches as well. So I knew the memoirs by heart. The hardest part was to convince people to support us financially, same old story, to be able to make the documentary. I tried by myself for a few years to find funding in Turkey and in the US, and I was not successful. But thankfully, we collaborated with Greek producers, French and Austrian producers, and it proved to be very fruitful. And we were able to raise money in 3 countries and from the European sources as well. That's how we were able to produce the film. And we worked with a French archive researcher, Charlotte Delupe. I hope I'm not butchering her last name. She was extremely helpful, and she warned us from the very beginning to be very organized, not to download anything from YouTube, to make sure that we know which archives we used in the rough cut, so that they could find the source of the material when we do the online editing, the real editing. And it was a very fruitful collaboration. It was also very difficult because we did the film during the pandemic. So everybody was in a different country. But we are happy with the end result and the award. So I think it worked. When I first started this project, I really didn't want to interview historians. I wanted it to be Antoine's voice because it's unique. He was in the Ottoman Empire when World War I broke out, but his background was Austro-Hungarian. So he was an insider, outsider in this war and in the Ottoman Empire. So he had a unique voice, and I wanted that voice to be heard more. But, the reality of producing the film in many different countries for TV channels comes to play. So at the end, we interviewed historians, and we had to find additional archive material to illustrate what they were talking about. Also what Antoine was talking about, but mainly what historians were describing in the film. We, with the help of Charlotte, we looked at many major archive sources. What we tried to do is to match Antoine's material with the additional archive material seamlessly, with the help of color correction, but also with the sound design. And I think it helped. The passage from the Antoine material, Antoine's voice, narration to the historians, and from there to the archive materials, quite seamless. So in that sense, at the end, I'm still happy with interviewing historians and making it as seamless as possible. I think at the end, Antoine's voice is still heard strongly in the film. So it makes me happy too, because I felt a responsibility towards him, even though he passed away in 1974. I wanted to make sure that his amazing material is used responsibly. We knew from the very beginning that we needed a very well organized and very strong and maybe opinionated even editor. So we worked really well with Angelos Angelidis. I would like to thank him again here. He was very patient. In the editing phase, I was able to go to Greece. So we sat down and edited the very beginning together at Anemone Productions in Athens. And it went very well. Our mindset was similar with the editor as well, so it helped. So we did a very rough edit, and then I had to go back to Turkey. Then it became very difficult to go back to Greece. So we were able to edit in 2 different countries. It was painful, let me tell you. But we pulled it off. From the very beginning, it was a difficult project because, again, what is going to be the focus of this documentary, because it's a 1,000 pages memoir with lots of sketches, sound recordings, hours and hours of video material. So it required a lot of discussion before we started the editing. But during the editing phase, we also, changed course from time to time. So it was challenging. But knowing who our audience was helped. In my opinion, it was someone, a European audience mainly, trying to learn about the Ottoman Empire and also about the modern Turkey. So that's how we positioned our film and our edit. And from the very beginning, we pitched this idea at La Rochelle, sunny side of the dock. And we got an award there as well, Best History Pitching Award. That's where we pitched the idea, saying that this film is gonna give us a picture of the Ottoman Empire as well as modern Turkey, because what happened in the Ottoman Empire helps us to understand what's happening in today's Turkey. That was our understanding. So that was basically the road we took, and it helped in the sense of compiling the archive material. When the pandemic hit, I was in Virginia. I teach at James Madison University. First, I need to mention them. They helped me immensely. They allowed me to stay in Turkey during the pandemic so that I can work with the European partners and not have the time difference on top of the pandemic. So I would like to thank my university, James Madison University, because they made it possible for me to be able to be here. And our Greek partner was Anemone Production. Our French partners were Point du Jour and Le Film du Balibari, and our Austrian partner was Epofilm in Austria. And I was actually reluctant at the beginning to continue making the film because during the pandemic, I just didn't think that it was possible. But at the end, we pulled it off, I think. It was difficult, as I mentioned before, for everyone, but nobody gave up. And at the end, we were able to finish the film. And now my hope is that many people would see the film and it would, I don't know, somehow allow people to understand the Ottoman Empire and modern Turkey a little bit better.